Welcome to Moss Marketing Mondays, aka the M3 Podcast. Brought to you by Moss Marketing Group, bringing you everything marketing every Monday. Stay tuned for marketing tips and tricks you can use today. The M3 Podcast, marketing knowledge to help you succeed. Let's get started.
Welcome back to the M3 Podcast. This week we got Ricky, we got Logan, we got Alex. New face here. Normally I get to say two of them are from the MMG crew, but everyone here is from the MMG crew now. So just recently linked up and finally got an acquisition deal done. Crazy excited about that.
Yes, sir.
But
We're 2 weeks in?
I think we are 2 weeks in.
2 weeks as of today. It's real.
Right.
It's official.
It's already been full speed since you've been there. So I was very upfront at that at the beginning that it was not going to be a slow pace environment. But
This has felt like every single minute of 2 weeks. Yeah, we've gotten a lot done.
But so I want to back up and I want to hear your whole professional career and kind of what all led up into the media side, the marketing side, where we cross paths, and we'll just start from the beginning and tell the whole story.
Whole story. All right. Well, so graduated college Missouri Western in St. Joe.
We don't need that part of the story, but
Yep. That's from there. In case you were wondering. Left from there, went to become an expansion consultant for a nonprofit, which is essentially a fancy way to say college recruiter. So then traveled the country doing that. Then that rolled into becoming the director of expansion. So then I was then in charge of our college recruiters. We had 7 all over North America between US and Canada. Then I stayed in that role for about 3 years.
what were you recruiting for?
Fraternity. So I worked at fraternity headquarters.
Wow.
So essentially you would have, we were at 200 campuses already, but there's thousands of campuses across North America. So then you would send consultants from our fraternity headquarters to a university after there's an agreement set up in place. So I would send them, they would be there for 2 months, recruit a group, bring them together, get them set up for an educational consultant to come in. And then after those 2 months, they're then just cut off, boom, you go to the next university and you live there for 2 months recruiting. So yeah, I did that for a year and a half, went to a bunch of different places, and then moved up to the director role where I'm managing those consultants who are recruiting all over the place. But then my main role is to pitch the universities on us coming there. So obviously, if you're at one university for those months, that's great, but then you need a place to go after that. And then after that, right, so you're future casting on all the places they need to go. Well, then when you have that many teams of people, you need to have 3 universities at a time. So it was quite a beast and a lot of travel. Got quite the amount of miles racked up with Delta. So shout out to those Delta Sky miles. We love those. But yeah, so then did that until 2019. And I was like, you know what? 2020 is about to hit. It's going to be a great time for me to move home. I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to hit the job market. I'll be great. And I decided to put in my 2 weeks in mid-January of 2020. Now, I don't know if you guys remember what happened in 2020.
I don't.
Yeah, so let me
I sat in my driveway and drank beer most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, I quit my job to think I was opening a marketing company. Little did I know nothing would be open to sell.
Yeah. Well, and they also weren't hiring. So it was
Oh,
awesome.
you guys aren't? Nobody's here.
Yeah.
So is that a yes or a no?
And I'm like, it's fine. I'm going to call up all my friends. I'm going to get the in, And they're like, yeah, we all put a freeze on hiring. So you're kind of on your own, which was really fun. So then after a little bit of that, I was like, you know what? We're going to go and take the first job offer that lands, which was a logistics broker, which correct response.
Ooh.
We are cold calling. I'm dealing with the worst of the worst people, and I'm doing it with the positive energy that I have in life.
You got some thick skin after that, or at least maybe you didn't.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
it waited you out.
I was gonna
you're not doing it anymore. So.
No. I was like, I stayed with my positive attitude for all of maybe like a month. And it got to the point where I would come home from work and my girlfriend at the time would be like, you've only been there for a month. You need to quit that job because I'm genuinely worried about you. Yeah. I stayed there for 6 months. 6 months too long.
Did you ever make the crazy money they promised you or talked about?
Oh man, I made a killing. I made a killing. Yeah. I made enough to survive. So
I could eat.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was miserable. I'll tell you what though, it was a humbling experience. Making all those cold calls, and then your version of success was just still awful.
I think that's probably one of the reasons that we hit it off so well at the beginning, was I feel like there's a lot of people like in our age group as a whole. I know that you're way older than us, but I had to toss that in there. But
oldest person at MMG, holding it down. If anyone wants a job that's older than 31, you're hired.
No, but I think that a lot of people like in our generation and down, even I think a lot of people in their 30s, some people never, I don't care how old they are, haven't had those like humbling experiences to have to go do something like that.
Yes.
That it kind of puts into perspective of what like true sales looks like. Put into perspective of like, there's so many people have just been told yes their whole entire life. Yeah. They go pick up a phone all day and get told no all day long. And I remember like when I did it in the car business, it was probably something I hated the most. And I mean, Ricky's been in the car business. Logan sold saunas online or over the phone. Like, I mean, everyone at this table, and that is a common denominator of a lot of people at MMG, is they've had positions like that at some point, that they've had that kind of, okay, this is what it truly looks like to go grind and like put in the effort, put in the work, and not be great at something in the beginning and have to figure out how to become good.
Yeah. It kind of shows you or makes you think about how bad you really want it. Like when you're sitting at a cushy office job or something and you know your paycheck's coming in, it's like, all right, this is, whatever. Like, yeah, it's easy to say I want it then, but whenever you're like getting told no, fuck off, like over and over again, and you're not getting paid unless you find someone to say yes to you, it's a different ballgame then.
It's funny how many times we've had comments on, like, we've talked with people in the sales space. We've talked about like great salespeople, like love to live off of commissions, things like that. And it's like, we'll get comments like, these people just want everyone to work for them for free, like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's what you took out of it.
Right.
You're one of those people that have never been put up against the fence to actually like truly excel in sales and get what you're worth actually. So it's something that it's all on the viewpoint of how you look at it, that the greats want it a certain way. And it's like, there's a reason.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's all about like being able to say confidently that I earned what I did. And like I earned everything, every single step of the way. So whether that was in the college space where it was, our expectation is that you're booking 10 to 12 meetings every single day. Well, to book 10 to 12 meetings with college students,
I'm going to send this to your Google Calendar.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. What calendar?
I'd assume the hard part was actually getting them to show up.
It varied by campus. You'd go to an Oklahoma State where a lot of them have a lot of really good values and respectful and, like took things seriously. And then I would go to a school up in the Northeast where it was just, you never knew who the next person that you were about to sit down with.
Yeah.
So it was all over the map.
Was it a business religious fraternity or what?
No, like a traditional fraternity. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So were you forming like new chapters?
So either they got kicked off and we brought them back, or they had never been there before and we would start them. Yeah. So I was like, I'm never going to join a fraternity, and then ended up being the director of expansion for my fraternity. So
this was the fraternity that you were in?
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I actually had the same outlook when I got to college. I was like, no way am I joining a fraternity, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I had this just like staple look of what fraternity guys looked like. And I was like, what you see in the movies. And then as freshmen, actually, when I went to Northwest, we were required to go to this thing called the Ice Cream Social, which was just like all the fraternities were there, like talking to people. And I went to it and I was not very open-minded about it. And I ended up meeting one guy I actually really liked, and I only rushed one fraternity, and I came to one of their events, which was the last day of the week, and I went to one of them and ended up, it was one of the best things. It's created so many amazing friendships. Dalton and I met at Northwest, and Dalton and I were roommates through college, and work together every day now. It's like that there alone was a value point that was so big. and so many other people too that I'm still friends with and talk with all the time.
Yeah.
But
And I mean, that honestly too, when you talk about the value of being in a fraternity, obviously there's a bunch of different ways you can take that, but career wise was also something that did a lot for me. Like one of my best mentors was through being in my fraternity, not just being in the office, that mentor, but then the alumni mentors that I gained from that, the connections I gained from that, learning experiences was amazing. And then got to that point where I'm like, I feel like I'm hitting a glass ceiling here. And also too, I just like, I know I want to be out of a nonprofit space. I feel like there are times where I'm really succeeding in my role, but it's still a nonprofit at the end of the day. And you're working off of our budget, a portion of our budget is people paying dues.
Right.
So they're like, no one here is going to make an extreme amount of money. I was like, well, at some point I'd like to make an extreme amount of money. So this sounds like it's not the place for me for the long term.
Logistics.
Yeah. So then I said logistics.
I'm going to transport.
You know what I want to do? I want to call truckers all day. Yeah.
A lot better to talk to than frat kids.
Yeah. So I went from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
And again, when I say humbling.
It is cool to hear a story, from like a fraternity experience or a couple of stories that, there was positive that came out of it like that. Not just the traditional stuff. I feel like a lot has changed probably since even I was in college, and you guys too, with fraternities and hearing stories about kind of how they are now. It sounds like a complete,
dude, they don't
waste of time.
They don't put any of the morals and things like that and like the values that like, at least, and I'm saying everyone's fraternity experience can be different.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like what we went through was, we had grade requirements. Like you had to like hit certain grade requirements. So everyone kept their grades up. Like we had intramural sports. We had community service hours that you had to put in every single semester. Like you had to do things like you had to be involved in different organizations on campus. Like it made you do all these things that in the beginning I was like, as a freshman and a sophomore, I'm like, this is dumb. But it started instilling those habits. Like you're away from home now. You don't have your parents there telling you what to do. Like it's the first time a lot of people are free. And we've had a lot of conversations on here. I don't think college degrees are worth what people make them out to be.
I agree.
But I think one of the big things I got from college is like one guy had a statement that he was talking about, like, look at all the friends you made and things like that, which I'm not going to disagree with that. Like I learned time management a lot because, freshman, sophomore Dane didn't have a whole lot on his plate, but he thought he was pretty busy. Senior Dane had a Grove on his plate and then didn't feel like I was that busy because my time management became so much better. And just understand, and it was all stuff that the fraternity like made you do in the beginning, but then you just started doing it out of habits. It was part of your routine. You had guys that you worked out with all the time. You had people that, did we party? Yeah. That's normally what everything's hyper focused on. But it didn't look at the late nights. It would be a Monday night. There'd be 15 guys in the chapter room study.
Right.
They didn't look at when the whole entire chapter would go help clean up roads. They didn't look at all like the benefits that we had. So I like that there are stories out there of great things that happen through that, but it's what's highlighted all the time are the shitty things that do happen that are 1 in 1,000 that come through.
Yeah. It's the same as, you can compare that to so many other things like law enforcement. There's 100 amazing things that law enforcement does in our community every single day.
Yep.
And then, you wait however long and then one bad thing happens and it's like, oh, that's how all police officers are. Or that's how all, and then it just spirals into thinking that that's just how everything is, when in reality, that's not the case for law enforcement. That's not the case for fraternity and sorority life. And I don't want to get on a soapbox there because I could.
No,
I was like, I give you a real TED talk on that. But
it's one of those things. I think there's media in general just hyper focuses on negatives. Like go watch. My life's been a lot more positive in the last couple of years. I just stopped watching the news all the time. And it's like, do I know if every single thing's going on in the world now? Probably not. But it's also like you go turn on 3 different news stations, you get 3 different stories. So like, how accurate is the news that you're getting? It's, I don't know. I think that's just a media thing. And like I said, we got a whole podcast on that by itself.
Yeah. I will say too, I think that's where I also kind of learned the balance. And I think this plays a lot into business too. Like the great art of me caring about people, but then also if I just don't give a fuck what your opinion is, then I'm completely content with that, because people would come up to me and be like, you work at a fraternity, have something smart to say. I truly don't care, because you're uninformed on the topic. I'm not going to get riled up about it. But yeah, so then left there, went into the beautiful world of the logistics for all of 6 months. And I was like, I know for a fact that this isn't it. And then while I was there, I then got a job offer from a large tech company that worked in higher ed tech, called Anthology. So there was like an umbrella company over a bunch of different tech companies underneath it. And again, shout out to my experience with my fraternity. That is the connection that got me into that organization. And so then from there, I was a marketing coordinator, got moved into marketing manager, was there for just short of 2 years, loved pretty much almost every minute of it until towards the end. But while I was there, I got my master's degree, which completely doubled down on what you said. I think the emphasis put on degrees is insane. And unless you're going to be my either like doctor or lawyer or something like that, it is just not worth the investment anymore.
The YouTube world does not think so. The degree people really come out full force when we speak on this.
Which is pretty funny, because you can learn almost anything on YouTube.
For real. Like, I mean, YouTube wasn't like, I mean, it was coming up, but in college, like when I didn't understand what we were doing in calculus, like I went through some of the highest math classes we had at campus, and the teachers, I had 2 teachers that taught calc, and one of them I just didn't understand. Like, he was a terrible teacher. He was monotone.
Dude, some of those calc teachers are rough. Yeah. I had one at Mizzou that was just...
Madison's mom was a math teacher in college. I was like, I wish I would have had a math teacher like her. I would have been way better.
Yeah.
But one of the teachers was terrible, and I used YouTube all the time. I'd sit there and watch YouTube videos at night on my Calc 2 classes, like, because I wasn't getting it from him. I'm like, this is a class I'm paying a university for. And I actually found a better teacher on YouTube.
For free.
Yeah. For free. And it's
YouTube University, yeah.
But it is pretty crazy that the amount of knowledge you can learn on there, and then they're the first ones that come out like left field that they'll defend these degrees till they're blue in the face.
Well, as someone with a master's degree, I'll be the first one to tell you it's not worth it. It is unnecessary. 110% unnecessary. Like, it is ridiculous. But yeah, so then got that job with Anthology. At that same time, I started doing my business as a side hustle. I was like, hey, you know what? If I get this camera, I could start doing some stuff. I've always had a good eye for art. I was selling artwork at the same time, just as like I've always just wanted more money. I was like, I'm pretty good at artwork. I'll start selling my paintings again. Yeah, like acrylic paintings, usually like 3 foot by 4 foot murals of people. So like Pat Mahomes, Kobe Bryant. I ended up having a connection with a guy who every time that he would get a new client or he would sell a big deal, he would then ask them like who their favorite athlete was. And then he would just text me and say, hey, I need this photo of, I forget who these people were, but like older Mets players or something like that. Cause he was out of New York. I paint the guy, ship it up to him. He sent it direct to his clients.
We found new talent we have in the MMG wall.
No. But keep this on the low, because I don't want to take Dre's spot of being the painter. Listen, I'm not doing that. He can stick to painting walls. I'm not doing that. But if you want a small mural guy, 3 foot by 4 foot is where we max out.
I can't believe you were talking to me about stuff for my walls in my office the other day and you didn't offer this.
Well, listen, that comes at an additional cost.
You could have got Logan a painting of me to put in his office.
Who's your hero?
Who is some of you like painting on your wall?
Make sure he's wearing the 50 cal shirt.
Yeah, the 50 cal shirt has to be on there. So you're painting murals on the side.
Painting murals on the side to pay the bills until I got that job. And then, like I said, started my own business, was doing it on the side, was still just trucking along with my company at the same time.
No longer trucking along.
No longer trucking. Yes, absolutely not. PTSD from that. God. But yeah. And then after, like I said, about 2 years of that, then the side business became the full business and decided to let it go.
What so obviously you were doing the paintings. We just talked about that. But what led you, like, was there always a passion there for like content creation or business in general, or like what led you to think, okay, I want to do this specifically and then I want to make it a business?
Yeah. I think it's one of those things that, like, you know, you as human beings, everyone's like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up and you're a kid? And I feel like very rarely do people actually become that thing. I think that most people acquire skill sets over their lifetime, and then sometimes people can find a way to bundle them all together. So for me, like, I was always creative as a kid. I was always painting, drawing, whatever, like just anything creative I could. I remember when we were in high school, had a video camera. Me and my friends were filming all kinds of ridiculousness that has since been taken
Deemed a TV show now.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, there you go. It's been taken down from YouTube, thank God, because of all the embarrassment.
You know, Ricky's still lives out
Man,
there.
you can't take it down. Yeah.
Ricky's is all out there for the people to find.
Oh, well, I hope that all my stuff has been taken down, because I don't think that anyone wants to find it.
So, you know, the funny thing was, like, back in school, like growing up, like, I always enjoyed art. I enjoyed like the creative side, but like wasn't the cool thing. So I played it down in school, and like all my friends that like were athletes and stuff like that, like the friend group I was around, they're like, oh, art sucks. I'm like, yeah, art sucks.
I hate to draw.
Yeah, art's no fun. And then I get my art teacher back, hey, Dan, can you stay after class? She's like, your last couple pieces were really good. Like, I had an art teacher in high school tell me like I should go to college for art. I'm like, I don't think so. I was like,
Were you also painting?
Some, like, if that
Like
was the
finger
project. Yeah.
Watercolors.
No, I've always thought like content and like just the creative side is kind of, it's fun to unlock. And like, I think there's a lot of things you can be creative in also. It doesn't always have to be just art. Like, I feel like there's the art of being able to solve problems. Like, I feel like there's so many things that you can find, like, how can you creatively look at a situation and figure out an outcome that somebody else can't? To where it's like, I've always like, I don't know, I think that's more people need to hone in on that, of like that creativity doesn't always have to be in painting a mural.
Yeah.
So,
well, we even had that conversation the other day. Like Jaime and I were talking, and it was like, you know, one of the things that I realized my first job as an expansion consultant, I became a director. I started managing a team of young people, right? They are all straight out of college. So they were all, you know, in their very early 20s. And me personally, and this I think was partially the creative side, partially having very strict parents growing up, it was always just like, figure it out. Just figure out a solution. There's a problem. And if I tell you to fix it, or I tell you to figure it out, then you just do it. Right. So then when I became a manager, I just thought that that's how people was someone tells you to figure it out and you just do it. Well, then shockingly enough, I had to learn as a young manager that not everyone is that way. Not everyone can take that and just run with it. They need to be told how to do it step by step. How do you want me to do it? And to me, I was just like, I've always struggled with that.
I would say that's one of the biggest shocks that like young or new managers face when they start managing teams. I was the same way. It's like, I had this conversation with Thomas the other day. It's like, not everybody is going to get it or understand or even have the same level of common sense that you do. And like, you have to understand that, because if you go into it thinking that everybody, you know, kind of thinks the same way, has the same common sense, looks at problems the same way, you're going to quickly realize that you're doing them a disservice and you're not going to get the outcome that you want. So that, I mean, for me, I kind of came into a leadership role at a young point too. And it was really hard for me to realize at first that not everybody thinks the same way as me. You have to spell it out sometimes black and white. So
no, it's that's a great point. And I mean, being in the car business, like I ran 12 sales guys, and there were some of them that just like, they would come to me with like objections or a problem or something. I'm looking at them like, why is this even coming my way? But there's a lot of people I just don't think are taught to like problem solve in their life.
Yeah.
That it's like, I've done it since I was little. Like, I loved Legos. I loved like that kind of stuff. Like, and I would get to where like I'd build Legos like halfway, then I'd try to do the rest without the directions. Like, how do you problem solve through it? Like, and I started doing that young. Like, it just wasn't challenging enough to me just to build it by itself, like, and just follow the directions to a T from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think, and that's something so small, but I think a lot of young adults come in and they don't do any problem solving on their own. And it's like, it's why their lives are in shambles all the time. If you can't figure out a problem in your workspace, how are you figuring out your problems in your personal life?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what are the solutions? Like, I'll say one of the most valuable things I learned since I've started this, which is probably one of the simplest things I've learned, was I was meeting with Corey with CP Excavating up in Cameron, and he goes, it was a few years in, and he goes, I was talking to a guy I have a lot of respect for. He goes, tell all your guys, if they ever come to you with a problem, they have to have 3 solutions for the problem.
Yeah, 131. Yeah.
So I literally, like, the next day I come in, I put it into place, and I was like, it was crazy how how much it streamlined so many things not coming to me after that. But I think so many people get into like, well, I have a manager, so if anything's wrong, I just tell them. Mm-hmm. Like, have you even thought about how to fix it?
And a lot of that can go back to the manager, though. Like, if they don't let those people make decisions, then you're going to get exactly that. They're just going to bring everything right back up to you.
Yeah.
And I think one of the like simplest things that you can do as a manager is when someone asks you, presents a problem, first thing without even reacting to it, say, what do you think about it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just put it right back on them. I've started doing that, and it just like, the question's almost answered instantly, and then it's either, yeah, I agree with it, or
sounds like you already cracked the problem. Yeah.
Or no, how about what if we think about this instead, or are you forgetting about this? You know, but I think that's one of the best ways to teach people that as a manager is let them figure it out themselves.
Yeah.
I think sometimes you have to give them, I think sometimes they're looking at it from the wrong scope too. They're not looking at it with all the pieces in play.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like you said, have you thought about this? Mm-hmm. Like, kind of lead them down the road of like,
you get blinders on too. When you're looking at a problem for so long, or you're focused on the same thing, you get blinders on, and sometimes it takes another person to pull you out of it, you know?
100%. There's been so many times at MMG, I get so like tunnel vision on what's taking place that it takes me sitting down with somebody that just kind of like, I'm going to say once again, just looks at it from a whole different lens. Like, did you think about this? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to say Adam, when I first met with Adam, he like sat down and broke our whole business in like 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. Like, every bit of wind I had in my sail was gone. I was like, what have I been doing here? And it was just like, but it wasn't anything that was like monumental on like what he told me. It was just looking at it from that way and just like leading me to the answer. Like, I got to the answer myself, but he just put more pieces in play. Like, have you thought about this? Have you thought about doing this? Like, why does that make sense? Why do you want that? Where does that put you in 12 months? If you do that, what kind of staffing is needed to do that? What kind of profit lines can you make on that? A lot of questions that, like, most of the time I'm just like, boom, like that way, we're going that way. But I've gotten better now to where it's like I do process a lot more, that it's like I can see quicker answers because I process those same kind of things over and over and over a lot faster. But I also look at 10 years from now, I'm going to be 1,000 times better at it. That it just comes with doing it more and more and more, and it just comes with time. But no, I think I think you show a lot of those characteristics, a lot of things you do. And I didn't even know that your first deal was with a fraternity.
Yeah.
And I know you like talked about that role. I just didn't know that's what it was for. So pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a triggering topic to some people. So I'm always like, nonprofit. And just skim right
I feel
over
like
the
when you
top
say
of it.
nonprofit, people are like, yeah, that sounds complicated. I don't want to
Yeah.
ask about that.
Or it's like, oh,
Don't-
nonprofit. This guy must be a bleeding heart.
Yeah.
What a sweet boy this guy must be. Yeah.
It's a lot better than fraternity.
Yeah, right. Fraternity. Yes, this guy is the worst.
It's a lot different.
Yeah.
Right. I am still the worst,
Quite
but like it
literally
just
polar
sounds
opposite.
better.
Yeah, it sounds better as nonprofit.
Yeah.
No, I think most of our conversations were after you started your company.
Mm-hmm.
So when you went out full time, you're like, I'm going to go do this full time. Like, what did those initial steps look like to say that's what was going to happen?
Yeah. I mean, to me, and I have friends who are business owners and they've done well and everything like that. So to me, I kind of looked to them and said, okay, if I were to go out on my own, what would be my first problems? What would be the initial issues that I would run into? And just really took those deep dives. And they're like, well, I don't care what business it is, sales and marketing. Sales and marketing is king. I don't care what you are, what you do. If you don't have sales and you're not marketing yourself properly, then nothing else matters. I was like, well, I feel like I'm pretty solid at marketing, and I've had to call truckers before. I've had to recruit college kids before. I think I could handle pitching my services and what I'm doing. And at that point, I had already been doing pretty solid with it as a side job, right? Like I'm working a 9-to-5 for a tech company that is 100 miles an hour. I mean, I'm doing stuff until midnight, 1 a.m., doing stuff for different parts of the world. So, you know, I'm doing stuff for APAC and then doing stuff for here. And then I'm on a call. We had to wake up at 4 a.m. to be on this 4:30 a.m. call with this team from India. It was ridiculous, right? But then I'm also doing this on the side, and it's being very profitable. So to me, I'm asking them, and I'm like, well, hey, if I'm doing well with this as my side job, crazy thought, what if it was my only job? So mind blown. Shocker, didn't need to pay for the mentorships. But so then, yeah, so I was like, you know what, at some point we need to make that happen. And then it lined up perfectly to make a jump and just go for it. And at the time, it was just kind of like, if we're going to go, we're going to burn the ships, right? And I'm very much that person. It's like, once we've made that decision on anything in my life, the decision has been made. There's no looking back, and I don't want to have a plan B. So that's what I did. Went all out, was fully invested in it from that point on, and was really happy with it. And then one day we got to talking, and I was like, let's go get a drink.
Here
we are.
History. Podcast over.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's something I'd watch what you were doing, and we crossed paths at a workout deal. Where was that at? Was that some school?
Yeah, I was at that high school for the Lexi J Wellness event with Supplement Superstore.
I was trying to remember the school that was.
I have no idea what school it was.
It was on the Kansas side.
Yeah.
One of those.
But
Blue Valley something.
Sure. Shawnee Mission.
It was a nice field.
Pick a direction.
it was a nice field.
Field.
I never played on that field, so it had to have been down south.
Yeah.
But no, so we meet at that event, like just barely cross paths, and I think at that event we still weren't doing anything crazy at that point, and it was I think we started catching some traction after that, and we had the right things moving, because that was probably is that 2 years ago?
We were in the river market.
Yeah.
No, that was last year.
Yeah, it was last
It
year.
feels like it was like way longer
Yeah.
than that though. But yeah, because I remember I met Jaime at that event too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to
and
have
I
been in the
knew-
river market,
Yeah.
but we probably didn't
It
have
was
much
that summer
more.
sometime.
Yeah. But so we crossed paths then, and I just kind of kept an eye on, the big players in the marketing space. I think a lot of people think as you go higher up that ladder that you're going to compete against better marketers. I think that's the false narrative is we've figured out as we've gotten higher, the competition has gotten worse. That it's became broken processes. They're just trying to hire anybody that has a pulse, that has no earth idea about marketing, that has a college degree, that hasn't been taught about social media marketing. They've been taught about TV advertisement and traditional mailers and things like that. That's not even relevant to what these businesses are doing. So they hire this person to do social media marketing that is starting on ground zero, and they don't give them any training because they thought they went to college for it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who
There's nobody there to train.
yeah.
Right?
So it's like,
Yeah.
as we've went up, the competition level, I feel like, is getting worse. So I think that's where we started catching a lot of our stride, was when we started competing against them and like bidding. And then I was watching, like, there's two lines of business that you have to keep an eye on. You have the acquisition and work side, but you also have acquisition and employment. Like, how do you run all this? And I've always been like a gold standard kind of person. Like, how do we just bring the gold standard all day, every single day? And to be able to do that, it comes with all the right people, the partnerships that we make inside the walls. That a lot of companies look at what's outside being the most important thing. I've always kind of looked at that the opposite way. Like, accounts are important and all that. Like, those are great partnerships we make, but none of it's possible without a bunch of A players. So watched what you were doing for a while. And I'm going to say that there's like 5 companies that I was kind of keeping an eye on, like pretty heavy. And you're somebody that when we sat down, you just hit every single one of the characteristics that I, in a roundabout way, vet through our core values. And I can do it in an hour and a half, 2-hour conversation. That I just know somebody's like hits the marks. The first time we met, like I was straightforward with you. I don't beat around the bush. I'm like, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. I'm like, love to have you part of the MMG team. Like, and I'm like, we'll acquire your company. And I was like, we'll make it work for everybody. But I saw the bigger vision with you being part of MMG for the future. Like, so that was one of, and the crazy thing is at that point when we had that conversation, that was what? March.
Mm-hmm.
We had that conversation in March, and I think you run into Dre at a wedding. And then, so Dre still is going to say that he's like the one that made the whole deal happen. But
I will say, I will give the flowers where they should probably go here. It was, we had that meeting. I got really excited about it. And I was like, well, hold on a minute. Like, let's not be too hasty with it. Let's maybe think about this, take our time, keep in communication, because like you said, like as far as like values and vision on where we wanted to go. And, you know, I would watch what you guys do on social media, see how you guys talked about where it is you want to go. You post in the mornings, and there's so many mornings where you would say something and I'm like, I completely agree. Like I think so much about what he just said, and 1 out of every like 7 times I would actually respond. So for the one time I did respond, I think I probably responded like 4 or 5 times to your story. It's like there were so many other times where I'd hear you say something and I'd be like, that he is so right on that. You know, we talk about extreme ownership and, you know, Jocko Willick's book and stuff like that. And I'm like, we're just very aligned on stuff. So we talked about that a lot. And then I think that Dre was really just that kind of like in-person reminder. And it was just that one other person outside of you and Ricky where it was like one other
dude,
person.
this is the hype guy. This is a CFO. Yeah. He seems like a real party animal.
This dude's HR.
What?
I heard you were the party animal that night, though.
I did at one point get on top of a table because listen, they played my
Did Dre
song.
blackmail you into this whole thing?
That's really what it is.
Sounds like this turned into a blackmail thing.
Listen, I'll completely own it. If you put on "Unwritten" by Natasha Bedingfield, all bets are off on me. It is.
I don't know that.
I don't know that.
You 100% know that song. It's a certified banger in 50 states, and I don't know how many countries there are in the world, but every single one of them, Natasha Bedingfield, "Unwritten," certified. We'll play it in the office tomorrow.
Okay.
And I'll get on some elevated surface tomorrow. You know that song.
No,
I don't think I do, man.
All right. Well, for the podcast YouTube edit, insert the song here.
Logan's gonna play it.
Oh,
ads. Survey.
Ads. Oh man,
Yeah, ads.
These damn marketers.
Oh my god, this song.
100% this song.
I got to turn it off. He's gonna get on top of the table.
Like I can feel the leg twitching now. But it was also.
I don't need to hear any more of this.
There's also the opening song.
I don't think
to
I
a
ever knew
TV
that that's
show.
what she was saying. I think like I just heard the song.
I've heard that song in like movie intros and stuff. I don't think I've ever
like
knew what it
Miley
was called.
Cyrus's movie, Hannah Montana. That one.
So The Hills. So it was like the intro to that. And my sister had complete control over the remote when we were kids.
Oh.
So she would have that on lockdown. I was like, you know what? I don't like the show, but the opening to this show,
Get on top of the couch.
I am ready to
every
go.
time it started.
7-year-old me was hype. I
I
don't know if I was 7. I actually don't remember, but you get the point. But yeah, so that was me at a wedding. And then like maybe a week later, if that, I texted you and was like, I'm coming by the office. When are you free?
I think you
20
texted me.
minutes.
Yeah, I was like looking at my schedule, and it's crazy how things work out. I'm like, I think I'm sitting getting my hair cut, and you text me, I like pull my phone out, and you're like, when are you free next to meet? And I'm like, look at my schedule. I'm like, I got like an hour and a half. I was like, can you come in 20 minutes? And you're like, yeah. I was like, on my way. I was like, perfect.
Yeah. When I left no like secret about it either, because I told you, I was like, next time I talk to you, like I'm not gonna mess around, and I'm not gonna.
You told me next time we talk, I'll have a for sure answer.
Yeah.
So I'm like, he's either coming in and saying yes or no. Like maybe he just wants to tell me no in person. I was like, maybe that's it. Because Dre's like, I ran into Alex at a wedding. I'm like, damn. He's gonna come in and say no.
He just
Dre
felt,
sold
he
me
felt
on
bad.
Dre sold me on no. Yeah.
Yeah. Good for Dre.
I will say he didn't make it the entire way down the field, but he helped get it across the finish line.
Good for Dre.
Gotta give him that.
Yeah, we're gonna give him some credit. It's new.
Yeah, that is new for you.
Too bad he's not here to experience.
I know.
Yeah.
One podcast is-
We actually cut this out of the entire edit.
Yeah, cut this whole
It's
thing out,
completely out.
and then we're just gonna like leave it like for years, and then like 10 years down the road, we're gonna be like, Dre, we got something to show you, man.
Let's save this for later.
Podcast 1045.
Yeah, we're gonna pull out this one clip to let
20
Dre-
years from now.
Yeah,
All right. So then quick pause. Yeah, Dre had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
It was all
Did you
Dre.
even see Dre there?
So he said he met me. I have no idea who this guy is until I showed up day one of the office.
Yeah.
So-
Hey Dre, I'm Alex. So, what was the reason that you? Because you thought for a while. So I feel like
Yeah,
momentum
it was
happened.
March to 2 weeks ago. That's not exactly a short amount of time.
Yeah. What was the wheel turning in the head? Were all the thoughts going through?
Yeah, I think that I put a lot of emphasis on do I want to build something myself and keep down that path. So at that point, I had started like January of 22 or something like that till now. And while I saw progress and I was doing just fine, doing what I was doing, do I want to continue down that path? Or do I want to let that path go and align myself with something here? And to me, I was like, okay, pros and cons wise, what would really stick out to me? And when I think of cons, it was really just, I have to come into the office. And then I go to the office and I was like, if this is the con, because I have to come into the office, I think we're doing okay, guys. Other than that, I mean, like once I came in and I met the rest of the team, I think that was just kind of like, there's no negative portion. There's no negative part to it at that point because I was just so aligned of where we wanted to go. And I think that to me, it's also about making sure that there's going to be a right fit to where I feel like I can be an asset to a team and, just being there, talking to people, knowing that I can provide value to people and not be just an individual contributor, but be a part of a team. And then even in the first 2 weeks here, I'm sure that I've probably annoyed everybody in the first 2 weeks, but I'm just like trying to get in wherever I can and try to be as supportive of a role as possible. I was like, this is just going to be such a good fit. And obviously 2 weeks in, we're still in a little bit of a honeymoon from my seat, but it has just been such a great decision. And I think I told you and Dre both, I was like, I think the biggest mistake in the process was that I just didn't do it sooner.
Yeah. And like, I always think too, those, and I tell people one of the hardest thing about B2B, like sales is, and I've always been a salesperson, like I want to be on the other person's terms. Like I want people to be so sure of the decision that they make that when you came, if that first time you would have said yes, like I look at that as, would you have 100% been bought in at that time? Like, and I didn't want something where you thought about it and it was like 2 months later, like, did I make the right decision? Because it's hard a lot of times too when you're in a startup style company. Like we're still a very new company. And I was very upfront with you. I told you, I'm like, we don't have all the processes figured out. It's like we're running and gunning fast. We have a lot of really hard workers in place. We have a lot of the right pieces, but still trying to put all the pieces together correctly. And I read a lot of books on, I mean, the complexity of communication multiplies so fast in companies, and it's something that we're in the thick of it.
Yep.
I'm not going to say we're not. And it's like everyone from the outside looking in thinks we have it all figured out. But it's like, I told you, far from it.
Yeah. Right.
I tell people all the time, like, welcome to the shit show. I'm like, let's ride. But
yeah, that's the thing. Like we've exited the startup phase, but we're in the scale up phase.
Yeah.
It's like you know what you need to do and where you want to get, but it's trying to figure out. Like, exactly how to get there is chaotic.
Like half the time we're in a canoe with like 20 people in the canoe, and we're like, do we have oars? Like, what are we doing out here?
Somebody start kicking or something. Yeah.
Can somebody move the boat for?
I think someone get out here.
Yeah.
No, it's just it's new waters that we navigate all the time. Like, and I told you the first time, like, I haven't done this before, but I was like, I'll be the first one to run full speed into a wall to see if we can figure out how to make it work. We throw a lot against the wall every single day. Like, and I think that's where I've always partnered well with people is like, just understand we have to make movement.
Yeah.
Not making movement, just sitting there is the death of companies.
Mm-hmm.
And do we make the right move all the time? No, I'd rather make some big, huge move and we fail. But we figured something out.
Yeah.
Figured out what not to do, at least.
Yeah.
And
it's when you get a bunch of people too that believe in the same bigger vision and are like all collectively trying to move the ship in the right direction. It creates the culture that you're talking about to where it's like, okay, this is somewhere where I want to be. This is somewhere where I see the bigger vision, and it might not all be right 100% of the time, but we know if something happens, if something gets messed up, it's going to be, okay, what's our next step? Like, here's what we need to do. Let's all go do it and keep it going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I would say like, I think that was another piece of why I knew I wanted to be here was because I've seen both sides of that. So being at, when I was working at my fraternity headquarters, working at a smaller company where we had like 50 to 60 people, I loved parts of the job, but then I put it on a pedestal, the idea of like, I want to work at a really big company. We're making big moves. We have big budgets and all this stuff. And I'm tired of working at a small place. And then fast forward, I go there. We have a huge company. We're all over the world. It was still a shit show. It doesn't matter, right? Like every company has problems. The only difference is that as you scale, you get new problems. So it's not like, oh, I work at a big company and they just got it all figured out, right? But to me, it was so much more enjoyable of an experience to be at a smaller place and have a bigger impact and be able to make moves quicker than it was when I was at a massive company. And yeah, we had bigger budgets and we had, a lot of an easier time making large movements. But at the same time, there's so much red tape. There's so many levels you have to go through, so many people, you have to get things checked off, as opposed to here where it's like we make a decision and we make movement same day.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, I know for a fact I'd much rather be in that kind of situation. So it just was like, I remember that. I missed that portion. And then I align myself, like you said, with people who have the same vision as you.
Yeah.
I was like, this is just like a win-win situation.
Yeah. And I look at it also as I feel like one of my biggest fears in like business ever is becoming corporate. Like it's something I've never questioned the scale of MMG. Like I've always known it was going to happen. My deal is it's more of the fear of, do we take that path where people don't like going to work anymore? Like, because when I first, like the very beginning of MMG, like my main thing was like, I want people to enjoy working. Like when we're standing down in the basement, it's like something gives me goosebumps every time I go down there. Like us working down there at the time, like seems like we were doing so much that we look at it now as like probably one of us could do like our whole workload that we had at the time. But it's just like we weren't efficient in what we did. We were just figuring it out. Like we were all starting at ground zero all the time. Yeah. We had no processes. Our communication was yelling from desk to desk.
Right.
That was our system. And like that one wheelie board down there that had our accounts written on it. And it's like, I look at that as where we're at now. I like processes. They have to be in place. You get very implemented in like meetings and all those different things that they have to happen. Mm-hmm. But it's also like, don't lose the fun of work. And
yes.
Yeah, I think that's important to remember, like as a leader within a company too, because I feel like when you get to a certain point in corporate companies to where the leadership themselves feels like they don't have the power to make change, they don't have whatever, it falls on deaf ears. They have to go through so many hurdles to get something approved.
Yes.
So they don't give that same thought and thought process kind of transcends down through the hierarchies and it just stalls out there. So it's important to remember as a leader, like when you have people, make sure that you are, when they come to you with ideas, that you are giving them, you know, the opportunities to pursue them. You're constantly letting people, you know, try their own things, innovate. You give them their own voice within the company. And I'd say that's something that Dane's been really good at, you know, and continues.
I'll say sometimes I'm working at becoming better at it.
You continue to keep an eye on it though, even with things like, you know, people starting podcasts within MMG, you know, people doing different content within MMG, everything. It's important because if it stopped at the leadership team or at us, you know, because we didn't feel like you gave us that power, then it would never get to, you know, the next level, and it would never get to the next level. And then at some point, you know, we could continue progressing forward, but at some point it would feel like, okay, we hire someone on towards, you know, the bottom of the hierarchy. And that's just the way, you know, it is.
Yeah.
It's the manager, because that's the experience they've had, and it's the experience that their managers had. So it's important to empower your people to be able to allow their people to do that. And it starts with just from the top down.
Yeah. I think it's also something that I always envision. I know a lot of big companies that there's a leader in charge, a CEO, a founder, whoever, that has 300 employees and he doesn't know half of their names.
Yeah.
Like that's always something I'll hold true to, is I will know every single person that works at MMG and I'll know them well. Like there will be no point that we're too big that I can't know those people. Like if we ever break a threshold that isn't possible, I look at the network of people I have as huge already. If somebody's working within our walls, there's no reason I shouldn't know their name and I shouldn't know stuff about them. And it's like, and I think people get so tied up in like, yeah, we can have a lot of work things going. If we have that many people and then my whole job Fridays is going around talking to people, it's going around talking to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to be that found, like, once again, when we run with our core values, 300 is running as one. That there's no I in where I'm going.
Yeah.
So it's like the movement of MMG is we. So it's a hard thing to like focus on, but it's also, there has to be the hierarchy of like how power works, of where there's managers, because it's a disservice to them in their day-to-day job if it's like, oh, I'm relying. That was where we were capped out at that like 12 number for a while. It was when every single person answered to me. Like, well, I couldn't get this done because Dan was out of the office at meetings half the day. Yeah. So finally it was like, okay, you guys are in charge of, you five are in charge of all this. Like everyone goes to you guys now. Now you guys can handle it. Now we've scaled up bigger. And now it's like, we're going to run into the same problem again. Next 10 to 15 employees, and we're going to be like, okay, now we need somebody over here. We need somebody to do this. Like,
but yeah, I mean, honestly though, like that's why when I came here, I was like, you were like, oh, we move fast. I was like, well, I'm a fast mover, so this is going to work. And then we started talking one day, I was about to say like 3 weeks ago, I've been here for 2. Yeah. But here recently, I was like, I think it makes more sense that I actually report to Dre instead of you, because Dre's is here more often.
Yeah.
And if I need someone to sign off on something, I want to move quick. He's here, you're not. Like, yeah. I want Dre to be my supervisor just so that we can move that much faster. Yeah. And to me, like it comes down to like like you said, empowering your managers. And I went back to like the extreme ownership, another pillar. But to me, it's like that whole portion from that book was about, as long as everyone understands the goal and where we're supposed to be going, and you communicate that down to your leadership, and they understand that, they understand the decision making on like what we're trying to do and why we're trying to get there. At that point, you don't have to be involved in the conversation of what the decision is, because they know where we're trying to go.
If people make decisions out of betterment of the company and not selfish decisions, I really don't have a problem with the way people make decisions. Mm-hmm. Like really from the top to the bottom. Yeah. If they're making a decision for the betterment of moving everyone forward, where I get frustrated and where I get a lot of problems is when people I can tell when people make selfish decisions for themselves. I don't care what their words say. The actions of what people do day in and day out will show. When their actions show that they're doing the betterment for the bigger movement, I have no problem backing them on whatever they do, right or wrong. Mm-hmm. If I know that their overall purpose of what they were trying to do is right, I'll stand behind them. I'll help guide them. I'll help educate them. But there's a lot of people that make movement that's out for themselves. And it's like, I've had people too that have made selfish movement, but they have realized it afterwards that there's also growing people. There's sometimes not everyone's built to be on a team from the beginning. There's people that have talent that sometimes you can build them into being a team player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's always from a different forefront. That I'm not going to say I was always the best team player. I started figuring out that it's like where I found true passion. What I did was like, I used to be the one that I had to win every single thing I did. I still have that competitive spirit. Thing is, I don't have to beat everyone in the office. I'm not competing against the people in the office. And that goes for whatever we're doing. Like, I don't have to win every single thing I do against every single person in the office. Mm-hmm. Because guess what? If I'm hiring and I'm putting the right people in place, there should be other winners in there. That I should have people that are better at content in there than me. If I have people in there that I'm better than everyone at content,
we got a problem.
Yeah. I'm not going to say I'm bad, but I'm not going to say we're going to take over KC with it. But in the beginning, I thought I could. But same thing with the marketing. Same thing with, in 2 weeks, you've conquered more on probably the operations side than we have in the last 2 years. Just from like actually hyper focusing on that, because we haven't had the manpower to focus on that. And it's like,
and yeah, it's nice. Like all of us, have thoughts of that type of stuff, but it's nice to have someone who can come in and put in like an outside eye on it and be able to realize, okay, I'm going to break this to fix it here. This works well. Let's keep doing this. And it's nice to have that. It's stuff that all of us are aware of, but it's hard, like we said, to pull yourself out of that sometimes. And just like you said, kind of the workload too. It's just hard to take that step. So it's really nice to have someone be able to come in and put a new, fresh eye on it and say, this is, possibly a better way to do this. Let's keep doing this. So
Yeah. And there's been nothing that I've said that's been earth shattering. It's nothing that I've brought to the table that someone's like, whoa, like, what is that? Every time I bring it up, you guys know what I'm talking about. And you have already had the discussions of it needs to get done. We just can't do it. But like, what's true for any business is that it's hard to work in the business and on the business at the same time. Mm-hmm. I was experiencing the same thing when I was doing my own stuff. I was like, hey, why aren't you marketing yourself more? Like, well, I'm working 14 hours a day in the business. It's kind of hard to also work on the business when I'm doing that nonstop, right? So then it's like, if I come in and then I can just sit here and be the person that points out problems every day. Like I said, probably annoying everyone in the office. But
you point them out, and you're coming up with solutions of how to fix it. Like if like the first week you just came to me with like 50 problems and no solutions, I'd be like, there's the door.
Yeah.
Like
every problem has a solution attached to it. Yeah.
But it's like the first day you come in, and like, I mean, not the first day, but after a couple of days you come in, you have like a whole outline on your laptop. You're like, okay, this we need to look at. This we need to look at. What are your thoughts on this? You go through it all. This is how I think we can fix this. This is how we can handle this. And I'm like, go for it. Get it. Like,
it was a pretty short meeting on your side.
I was like, I like all of them. I was like, anything you need, any resources you need, go for it. Dre's got a card. Get whatever you need. But it's just like, I like that where it's a problem's presented, the solution's presented. I like the solution. Sounds great. Mm-hmm. Sounds thought through. Try it. Mm-hmm. What, we try it for a month, it doesn't work? Okay, let's try something else. Like, at least we tried something.
Right.
But it's like the execution on, we had a meeting, yesterday on email campaigns? But I think we talked about that on like Thursday, maybe last week, like end of last week. Today we get full email campaigns built out, everything like going to be executed by July 1. That's something we've talked about for a while. Mm-hmm. But it's just like, we didn't have the resources, the manpower to like, I mean, I put shit on Ricky's plate all day, every day, like from the MMG marketing side. Yeah.
Email campaigns just didn't quite it never quite made it to the top.
Yeah. Well, that's even when I brought it up. I was like, this is probably under him if we're looking at like roles and responsibilities, but I think he could probably use a hand. So I'm just going to go ahead and dip my toe in there with him on this one.
Because that's the other thing that it's been really refreshing is you're not just offering a solution, but you're willing to implement it.
Yeah.
And that's been huge.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, is I don't think any of us in MMG at any level, no one's ever too good for help from someone else.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what we talk about all the times. Like, yeah, we have our roles, but it's also all hands on deck to make sure work's done all the time for the best service and product for our clients.
Yeah.
That hones true at the very top. And I mean, you've been in a couple of my morning meetings that's what all I think about is like, how do we keep providing a better service and product to the end consumer that the marketing space isn't delivering right now? And it's like, We're talking about all like the collab stuff that we're starting to do with clients internally. We talk about like the social hour. We talk about all these different things that nobody else is doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is building ads something that's overly creative that no one else has done? No. Like, is being better at building audiences something that we're way better at than the next person? 100%. Like, how we target our ads. Yeah, we spend a lot more time on that than a normal company does. We spend a lot more time honing in on how that organic needs to look, to bring personality to it. That posting on social is not the same thing as marketing.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking about that today in the kitchen about there's these companies that get paid. I think I was talking to twins about that. There's these companies that get paid that literally post the dumbest shit possible on people's social media pages.
Happy Pencil Day.
Yeah. And they think that they're marketing. Those people don't deserve a marketing title. Those are the people that fuck up the whole entire marketing space. No questions asked. And I'll call out any one of them.
Yeah.
Man. But the sad thing is they're out there robbing companies of money, and they put them under these 12-month contracts that they're stuck in.
They're charging absurd amounts for this stuff.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And I'm like, you cannot honestly tell me that your Instagram, your Facebook post that you put up, they got 0 likes, that can't get 100 views, that anybody actively wants to see it.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's where also, like, when I watched your stuff, you understood how to do content. You understood how to capture attention. You understood that side of it, which is like, that's not something you can just teach people. Because I'm at the spot, like any marketing company in Kansas City that wants to come on here, I'll come on. They can come on. I'll debate it with them right here. No questions asked.
Mm-hmm.
Come on, and we'll debate what you're doing. Because there's a lot of marketing companies in Kansas City that are just complete thieves on what they do. And that's one of the main reasons I started Moss Marketing Group in the beginning. Their communication's terrible. They don't care about the clients that they work with. It's just a money grab. To where I look at, you had the right ideas, you had the right thought on the content leg, but I mean, you've also brought, a whole different viewpoint into MMG in a matter of 2 weeks that I'm beyond thankful to have.
Yeah.
Guys, if we keep this up, my whole shtick about me being a personality hire isn't going to really play anymore.
Yeah.
You also brought a personality to the office, which I'm a personality
not eating red meat personality.
Yeah, that guy sucks.
We'll have to work on that guy.
What a nerd.
No, but I just think I think energy is a huge thing that I think a lot of people lack, and they just kind of mope around. And I love the energy that our office has. I think clients, when they come in, they see it. That I think if it's the people in the kitchen working on the laptops, if it's people working in the main lobby part on their laptops, the music playing, you can ask everyone in that office. I'm probably like the most OCD person about music playing all the time, which they're more cool with it now at the new place than we were at the other place. Because the other place you couldn't.
Well, you can't get away from it. Now you can shut your door and put your headphones in.
Yeah.
You don't hear.
No, but it's just like I like that, as I think environment plays a big part of it, and it's something I never want to lose with MMG. Is no matter what scale gets, it's environment plays a huge role, and the energy that it carries.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that was also, talking about just like what us coming together. That was another part of it too, is that, I've always been a person that's been a pusher, I need to see movement. And when you're doing it by yourself, it gets exhausting being an energy person for one. So then being around MMG, seeing the people who are here, seeing the movement that was happening and seeing the energy that people brought to the job. And then talking to everybody, you, Ricky, Dre, and everyone being like, it's not just us. Everybody else here has that same vision, has that same thing. Like you just said a minute ago, is that everybody in the ship is 100% invested in the vision that we all have together. And I was like, well, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Because when it's a ship of one, it gets real lonely on that ship. You're looking around, looking like who else is picking up the oars, guys.
I don't know how you did that long, because I'm going to say the loneliest months of MMG was like the month I did before I hired Dre. That my first idea when I opened MMG, I was like, how much do I have to close to hire Dre? I was like, then at least we can like hang out together. I was like, because right now I'm just chilling in this bedroom by myself. Yeah. And I was like, it it wasn't fun. Like I didn't get experience with anybody. Like you get done with the day and it's like Mass only wants to hear so much about it. Like she doesn't want to hear how I'm building ads upstairs. She doesn't want to hear about what I changed on our website that day. She don't want to hear any of that stuff. And it's like, I get it. It gets boring when you're in the weeds. But then I had Dre, then I had Dalton, and then it was like Logan was here, and then it was like we could work out, then we could talk about marketing stuff, then we could have drinks, and it was just like, I don't know, it became fun. And it was like,
That was pretty much a fraternity.
it kind of was just, yeah. But it was like, I don't know, I looked at it as I was getting to hang out with my friends every day. We were getting to have a profession that we could make money at, that we could hang out with people that you like every day. So it's like, also when I hire people, it's like people I want to hang out with. Like, I don't know if that's the best way to hire all the time, but I look at
somehow someone snuck Bree in, but
ooh.
oh, she's not a girl's girl. It's fine.
No, so Bree was
She's
actually
also not going to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, she'll never hear this either. Her and Dre both.
no, but one of the funny things was like Bree was one of those people that the first time I met her, I just saw an energy level that last February we met with her, and I missed the mark, and we didn't have benefits and everything. That was part of her. We won't even go into that whole story, but we didn't have benefits. So I come back in October, we had full benefits and everything. And we go sit down with her, and it was like, that's one of the only people I think she is the only person I ever had an interview with and like reached back out to. And I just felt like I'd missed something. And it was strictly from an energy side. Like I didn't know what she knew about marketing. Like, I mean, same thing with like when Logan started. We sat at that bar right there drinking beers, and Logan's like, when you need somebody else, he's like, I'll come help. I was like, dude, and I didn't care about what Logan knew marketing wise. Same thing with Thomas. Same thing with Ricky and Lauren were at the gym, that I bet on Ricky and Lauren just because the people that they were. Towards the whole entire thing is like, I didn't know everything about Bree, but I knew the energy that she carried walking around. I was like, there's value there. Yeah. And it's like every person I've crossed, I'm like, where's the value of just them being as a person? I think too many companies have gotten to where they just run spreadsheets. It's the resumes they look at, and they miss the best hires because that's what they're honed in on. That like, I give a shit what you did in your past. You come in, you have the right morals, the right values, your compass points north, you have energy, you align with our core values, we teach you marketing. I don't know if we can teach you how to run a camera. Content's maybe a little bit different, but
that's a little different. We can help a little.
We need a little bit of skill coming in.
We need a little bit of skill on that side, but
we need at least a little bit of a pulse.
Yeah, something that you kind of know what you're doing on. But we don't have 2 years for you to learn on that. But besides that, I don't know. I think everything happens for a reason. We're always placed right where we're supposed to be. And I think all the stars align, and it puts you here for a reason. And I mean, we're at the starting line right now, so.
Yeah, I should have done that a little bit sooner. Maybe I could have snuck my way into an office. And right now I'm working out of the podcast room. But you know what? At least I can close the door if I want it to be quiet. It is completely silent in that
Maybe
room.
too quiet.
Quiet.
Yeah, well, we have to do short stints if you want to work out of that room, because otherwise it's gonna start to get kind of weird.
You're gonna
We
go.
got to make sure no one stays in there for too long.
Right? Like, yeah. Again, come check on me every once in a while.
Did Alex pad the walls in there?
Why are the lights off?
But we got to do something. See how long we can shut somebody in there. Because don't you start going like crazy after so long? Like
I don't know. I think I just go to sleep probably if you put me in there.
I think there's a Mr. Beast video on it.
I think there is.
Oh, there probably is. Yeah.
I think we could do one in there.
Who do you think would go the longest in there?
The longest? Dalton.
For sure. Without a doubt.
That adds up. Yeah.
He's the craziest of us all.
Yeah. It's either Dalton or Thomas.
Bree lasts the shortest.
Yeah, Bree would be
Bree clawed herself out.
I mean, 2 minutes.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be able to be in there very long. Or it might be peaceful. I don't know. Test it out. Video for the future.
Probably take an awesome nap in there.
Yeah.
That's what I was.
That's it for a nap. That's definitely the spot. Yeah.
You can't find me.
All kinds of good things coming in the future. We're excited to have you on the team. Glad you came on the podcast.
Yeah.
Hopefully people out there got some good insights. Any final thoughts?
Don't become a logistics broker.
Final thoughts on there?
I'm just happy you're on the team, dude.
Same
You've been an
here.
awesome asset so far.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a good dude.
Completely agree. Excited to
So-
work with you more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's keep rolling.
Yeah.
Stay the course. That's MMG podcast. Oh, that's the M3 podcast.
Oh, man.
I just botched. We've been talking MMG the whole time.
119 in a row, and you're just gonna mess it up.
Yeah.
All right, well, here, I'll close it out. Wow, that was the M3 podcast. Thanks for showing up, everybody.
Yeah, he's helping now.
Thanks for listening to the M3 Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Want to learn more? Check us out on Instagram at Moss Marketing Group, on Facebook at Moss Marketing 58, or on our website at mossmarketinggroup.com.